Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. Today I'm going to be giving you part 14 of What If Naruto Was Born in the Uzumaki clan. Remember to get this on to 200 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also stay in tune because later on I'm going to be posting a new episode of What If Naruto Got His Memory Sealed Away over on Anime King 2. So stay in tune for that and I do hope that you guys enjoy. And after this I'm going to be posting a new episode of What If Naruto Was Raised by the Hyuga clan. So stay in tune for that as well guys. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying and talking back to all of you. So without further ado, what do you say we begin this new episode? Begin the intro. So, the last time we left off, Naruto went to Hanzo and told him everything. Hanzo was surprised that there was so many more Uzumaki still alive. But Naruto was even more surprised when Hanzo told him that he will give him the Domino Squad and his personal help to rescue his people. Because if they're going to do this, they will need to kill each and every one of the Kumo ninjas to make sure there is no evidence for them to come after the Hidden Rain, as Naruto was beyond shock. As Hanzo took him away, the both of them went to a forest where Hanzo called. As a white wolf came out, it belonged to Hanzo's brother, who died, saving a girl's life. As Naruto was shocked to how nice Hanzo was being, as Hanzo saw Naruto as kind of like a son, making Naruto even more shocked. As Hanzo told him that he would give him his help no matter what, as Naruto thanked him for that. With that, Naruto was off on the wolf that was speeding through. As Naruto went and gathered the members of the Akatsuki. Meanwhile, at Konoha, Jiraiya went over the tape as he showed the people in the council room. They came up with one conclusion. It must be a Uzumaki. Given his strong ability to survive, even a kunai net that would have killed most Kages. As Tsunade only know one other clan that is on healing par with her grandfather, and that is the Uzumaki clan, as they figure that the Uzumakis must be vengeful towards them. Kushina also wanted to visit her ruins of Uzu, and seeing that they need her to have children so they could pass on the fox inside of them, they have to keep her happy. So she was sent along with Orochimaru and Minato and a few other envoys. As Minato was happy that Kushina wasn't looking at him with so many more hatred anymore. She was looking at him with kind eyes. As it took 3 days for them to get there, back at the Hidden Rain, Hanzo informed Domino Squad about what's going to happen. Even though they wanted answers, they still are going to follow Naruto and help him in this time of need, no matter what. Especially Nagato and Akino, and Konan is going to help him, what the entire group is. The 3 days pass as they arrive, as Naruto raised the entire ocean under the boats at the docks, destroying the Kumo platoon. Arriving there, they could only watch as Naruto brutalized all of the Kumo ninjas that he caught. Getting information as he ripped it from one of the Kumo ninjas' mind, a girl. As Yujito, the two-tailed Jinchuriki, she was the one that was handling this force, using the Uzumakis. As Naruto told his squad that he will handle her personally. Meanwhile, Kushina and Minato were talking. After seeing her people, she begged Minato to help her and not abandon her again. Seeing that, Minato thought about his son, as he thought about the Uzumaki clan, thought about the people over there suffering. Orochimaru was about to stop them, as he can't allow them to do something stupid, but they flashed away. Meanwhile, Kisame looked as he saw two people running down, straight towards the Kumo forces. As he turned to see Naruto looking down there, shock on the boy's face, as he told him, "They're my parents." So yeah guys, that was basically the last boy left off. You guys can switch across to the place and check it out for yourself. So what do you say we begin this new episode? Naruto's voice was barely above a whisper. The rest of the Akatsuki members didn't hear him. Kisame quickly grabbed his own binoculars as he looked towards the two charging ninjas. Undoubtedly, it was a yellow flash. Expectantly, seeing that the man was Naruto's father. But to think, Kushina Uzumaki was the boy's mother. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki was well known across the elemental nations, to the point where most ninjas were forced to remember her identity. "What should we do?" asked Kisame, confused. "This worked in our favor," Naruto said. "Kumo will believe that Konoha attacked their forces, thereby igniting war between them." "They could die out there," said Kisame. Naruto didn't say anything as he continued to look at his parents charging towards Kumo defenses. He didn't know why they were here, or had they truly lost their mind. But after hating them for a long time, and now seeing them doing something right in front of his eyes, it made him smile. They were brave and powerful, but most of all watching the both of them charge in, with each other as support, it made him truly see, for the first time, the couple who gave birth to him. He didn't know what the future held for them all, but in this moment he was proud of them. But if only they knew that they would die on that battlefield, no matter how powerful they were. Meanwhile, Minato couldn't help but smile, despite making a decision that might end his career. For the first time, he's making a choice of his own heart. If he survived this, then maybe he will be branded as a traitor, or a missing nin, or something worse. But if he gave Kushina her happiness back, he would gladly do that for her. Despite rushing towards the enemy's stronghold, Kushina was smiling brilliantly, as it warmed his heart. "Kushina," he said. She turned and she looked at him. For the first time in years, he was shocked. He didn't see hatred, but he saw pride in her eyes towards him. "I am sorry for everything," he said. And in that brief moment, she saw that he was truly sorry for everything that he did in the past. He had made a horrible mistake, and he will never make up for the crime that he committed. The both of them did. But he was trying to undo that by standing beside her tonight, against Konoha, against everything that he stood for. Before she could say something, Minato increased his speed. Warning bells start to go off everywhere, as he pulled his three-prong kunai and sliced two Jonin Kumo ninjas' neck first, as he drive the kunai right in another Kumo ninja heart, a female this time. He then leaped over a blade from one of the Kinkaku members. Kushina saw the Kinkaku members swarming towards Minato, as it made her angry. Her body exploded with the Kyuubi's chakra flowing into her chains, making them dance wildly as she ripped through the Kinkaku members. "Activate the seals, you moron!" yelled a Kinkaku member as Minato swiped the man's neck off. Kushina ducked a hail of kunai as she frowned hearing that strange order. She then leaped in the air. She drive her blade right through one of their hearts. But the Kumo woman smashed her head right into Kushina's face, making Kushina stumble back a bit. As her sword was ripped out of the woman's chest, the woman collapsed, but Kushina then had to duck as she sensed a fist coming towards her head. Dodging that, a kunai came barreling down as she twisted her body and sliced, tearing right through the Kumo ninja. As they then surrounded Kushina, she unleashed her chakra chains, tearing through their body brutally. She saw that Minato had also killed a dozen Kinkaku, but he provided the 4 Kinkaku in the corner to finish going through their seals. Great sealing of binding, they said. Kushina was surprised when the ground then sucked her feet in. She then started to feel the Kyuubi's chakra being drained away. She tried to yank her legs out, but it failed. She sent great amount of chakra trying to break the seal, but it didn't work. She even sent her blood in a counter seal, but nothing worked. Across the field, she saw that Minato was alarmed as he threw his famous kunai, but nothing worked. He was stuck as well in the ground, with his own chakra being sucked away. It seems like Kumo forced the Uzumakis to develop seals like this, which are now being used against them. She narrowed her eyes when dozens of Kinkaku surrounded them from all sides. Their leader, who was dressed in a black uniform, sent a kunai her way. Kushina raised her blade, but she was shocked when the weapon exploded. She could hear Minato screaming towards her as the Kinkaku members started raining down explosive tags. With their chakra being siphoned and them being stuck, they couldn't properly defend themselves. But she has not come this far to lose. Minato was bleeding heavily from the forehead when he heard Kushina roared, as she released a wave of chakra that blew them away. Minato heard a horn. Kushina, he said, as he pointed towards the gates as he saw hundreds of bloodthirsty Kumo ninjas. As Kushina saw Yujito standing on top of her village wall, glaring down at two of them. The enemy had expected a counterattack from Konoha, seeing that Uzu was their sworn ally. To think they has went this far to make preparations to stop the Yellow Flash and Kushina herself. Just how far have they plundered her clan's secret sealing jutsu? The both of them stared at each other grimly, as they were stuck in a bad situation right now, with hundreds of enemies charging towards them. As chains erupted all over from Kushina, as she saw the enemies charging towards them. Even though she was ready, she was a bit startled by the numbers. With the Akatsuki, Kisame was stunned to see the enemy manage to trick the Yellow Flash. Just how many lost sealing techniques has Kumo stolen from the Uzumakis? Once, even powerful enough to stop a man as Minato Namikaze in his tracks. Looking at the only Uzumaki near to him, he could see that Naruto wasn't surprised. It looked like he was expecting something like this. As Kisame noticed, Naruto was gripping the wolf fur, making the wolf growl dangerously, as he saw the enemy ninja charging towards the both of them. As Naruto's eyes turned red, "Let's go," he said, as he dashed forward to the wolf. "Follow the Dark Lord," Hidan said, as the cult leaders dashed off on their horses, leaving Kisame with a few other Akatsuki members who were confused. Damn it, Kisame cursed. Yet he pulled his blade as he turned towards his newcomers. "Follow the command," he said. And so the Akatsuki charged. Crushing all strategy, all plans, they charged. They were more scared of the man on that wolf, even than this entire army combined. As Kisame was seeing Naruto truly furious, as his blade was covered in hellfire, with a psychotic grin on his face. Meanwhile, Kushina had her sword raised, as her chakra chains were also dancing, ready for a fight. But to her shock, she saw the enemy come to a stop. She saw them looking up in the sky towards something. Minato also noticed that as he looked towards the sky, because in the sky was a skull, burning with green flames. He had seen this symbol once before, and it was when he lost Kakashi. Could it be? He then saw the Kinkakus that were behind them were being raised violently in the air, as he saw a wave of darkness coming. Riding on top of that very large wolf was that same boy with a ghoulish mask, with his bright red hair. In his hand was a sword burning in green flames, which he pointed towards the Kinkaku members in mid-air. Bolts of green flames fire from the blade, hitting the Kinkaku members directly. The man and the woman, they scream in pain and agony as their skin was being boiled off. As one of the Kinkaku members charged forward, the wolf leaped forward and ripped through the man's head, ripping it off completely. "Kill them all!" Naruto shouted. As the Akatsuki members dashed forward, the Kinkaku members were at a shock to see their members dying so horribly. Without sparing them a glance, Naruto shot past them, but he shot green flames right at their feet, Kushina and Minato's. The green flames burned inside the ground and destroyed the seals that were holding them captive. When that was done, the green flame transformed into a short message, as it read, "I always repay my death." As they looked upon the boy in shock to see him charging towards the army, as hundreds of horses passed by them, following the boy's command. "For Ozu," Naruto said as he thrust his sword forward, as a green flame exploded right inside the first enemy. line that collapsed as the green flames exploded. Unleashing his twin, spear, swords from Ghost's back, Naruto continued his charge. He grinned savagely as Ghost started to rip through any ninja that tried to stop his charge. The wolf was also monsterly strong as it ripped and break through ninjas. As he dipped his twin blades into green flames and started to slice through ninjas' heads, slicing off their arms, slashing right through their necks. As he looked behind to see his army ripping through the forest as well. The panic force was nervous as they could not understand, and the Akatsuki's were moving fast on the horses, decapitating and slicing off limbs. Minato and Kushina were still in shock at his arrival and his army. He owed them a debt for giving him life, and today he had repaid that debt by saving them in return. Whatever connection that they had, tonight it was destroyed. He respected them a little for doing the right thing for once, but it didn't matter now. They were not needed. This was his home, his people, his fight. He waved his hand in their direction. A message told them to leave right now. When he turned, there was a massive explosion as ball of fire rained down, striking down his forces, some of them at least. As the dust settled, he saw a giant, two-tailed cat standing proudly in the battlefield. The monstrous cat gave a roar that blew away many of his riders, including Kisame. But it was a person that was standing on top of the cat that made Naruto's heart stop. Who the hell is that? He then asked as he sliced a Chunin in half. That's the third Raikage, Naruto said. Several Akatsuki members took a step back on hearing their leader reveal the identity of their foe. The Kumo ninjas regained their confidence as they roared, seeing their mighty Raikage arrive. As Naruto jumped off Ghost, as he stepped forward towards the Kage and the Bichu. The third Raikage watched as the commander of this army stepped forward. You could see that he was barely 15, but his bright red hair, he could already tell who he was. He didn't know how any Uzumaki that survived the escape, because he thought that he massacred the rest of them. But it seems like some had survived. And plus this boy has an army. You all will die here, the third Raikage said, earning cheers from many of his ninjas. Naruto started levitating in the sky as the Raikage raised the eyebrow, as pure, demonic chakra started to leak from him, creating a skull out of it. Raising his twin blades that was burning in green flame, he glared at all of them. It is all of you that will die here, Naruto said. The Raikage smiled on hearing the boy's threat. Finally, a foe that was fearless, and with such immense dark power. Even from this distance, he could sense the sheer power of this boy. And it made him ask, "Who am I fighting?" he said. Naruto reached up his hand as he ripped the mask off his face. As the Raikage saw his face, even though it was a night, seeing that his green blades were burning with his dark red eyes, as he raised his blades in the air. "I am the sword of this village," Naruto said, as something was being created from the green flames. "I am the protector of the Uzumaki blood." Kisame saw the flames giving birth to a very familiar symbol that was famous around the elemental nations. "I am the shield that shall rise to protect this village from all enemies." The Raikage doubts came reality as the Uzumaki symbol came behind the boy in the green flames. As the ninjas, even though their Raikage was there, felt a shiver run down their spine. "As long as I live, the Uzumakis won't fall." As Naruto took in a deep breath, a smile came on his face. He was here, where he belonged. So for the first time, he looked down with pride. "I am Naruto Uzumaki, and this is my home." Minato's heart stopped as the Akatsuki leader revealed himself. He couldn't believe what he just heard. He was proud to see his son, devotion and loyalty to the Uzumaki clan and his village. But fear crept in his heart as he knew his son was fated to die by the Konoha leadership. They wanted his head. Most of all, he remembered the moment when he stabbed his own son in the neck. Looking down at his hands, he was shocked. The first time in his life, they were trembling. He almost killed his own son. He had known from that moment When he laid eyes on the boy, something was familiar about him. But now he knew why. But it also meant Naruto was the one who killed Kagami and all those shinobis. He was the mastermind behind that terrible massacre. He killed Kakashi. He was the one that nearly killed Ren. And he was going to kill Obito. A sea of conflicted rage went through Minato's heart as everything was becoming more clear in the passing seconds. The question is why Naruto has taken this path. Was it just for revenge because Konoha failed to save and protect the Uzumakis? Or was it something much worse? Even so, his reasons would never be considered. The entire of Konoha wanted his head, including Danzo, Orochimaru, Uchihas, the Shinobis, all of them. Obito, his younger son, wanted to kill the Akatsuki leader for killing Kakashi. And it was his elder brother. As he quickly turned, he looked over at Kushina to see tears streaming down her face. He stood still watching his son face the Raikage in his army alone, with his two blades covered in green fire. "This will be the end for you," said the Raikage as he raised his hands, as hundreds of Kumo ninjas stepped forward. "No, this is the end for you," Naruto said. Hundreds of Kumo forces run forward, but Naruto ran forward as well. Minato watched in shock as black chakra chains came from Naruto's back and started to rip through the Kumo forces. Kushina's throat choked up on seeing those chains emerging from her son's back. This was her blood, her power running through his veins. He was ferocious as he started to butcher Kumo forces left and right. His anger was just like hers, but with grace and speed just like Minato's. As he inherited the best from both of them, and he was using everything to fight for his homeland. As Naruto looked towards his Kumo shinobis, there were still hundreds of them. He then snapped his head up as arrows started to rain down from the skies, slaughtering Kumo shinobis. As he looked to the skies, as he saw that vulture, Akeno, he said. Meanwhile, Kiyotsuki finished firing his last set of arrows down. Satisfied that his job was done for this part, he looked towards his rider. Akeno faces a mixture of heartbreaking sadness as she looked at her former village. As Kiyotsuki remained silent, knowing that the tears that went down her cheeks was of pain and fury. Meanwhile, the third Raikage felt another power from the high mountains as he turned to see another boy with red hair as he was on top of a dark red horse. "Nagato," said Naruto. "Another Uzumaki," the third Raikage thought. As the boy raised his blade, hundreds of horse samurais stepped forward on their horse as well, right behind the boy. But the most dangerous thing was a man who was standing on a dark, giant salamander. Meanwhile, Konan and Daibatsu stood on the hill as he looked on a large army. Their gaze was on the dangerous Raikage and the Jinchuriki standing ready in Bichu form. Galatea saw for the first time her ruined village of her ancestors. Meanwhile, Salamander watched as Mifune was standing at the head of his man to think that he had managed to convince the samurais for this battle. His gaze shifted towards the redhead, Nagato Uzumaki, who stood at the head of the army. Being the only Uzumaki amongst his man and woman, Hanzo felt it right for the boy to be leading this battle army for his homeland. "For Naruto," Nagato said, as he raced down the mountain. Yaiko, Konan, Daibatsu roar as they charged down the mountain on their own horses. So many of those kids had the entire samurai armies following their lead as they all raced down the mountain. As the vulture released a screech and came soaring down as well. Naruto just watched as panicked Kumo ninjas run towards the west to stop the incoming army. But they were stopped as Kisame and Hidan led the Akatsuki forces that started to slaughter them. The rest of the Kumo force had to abandon the army to help the others that were being slaughtered. Naruto watched as the Raikage command the Biju as the cat was creating a massive ball. "Raikage!" Naruto screamed. The Raikage had to jump off top of Yujito as black chain nearly tore off his head, as no Kumo ninjas could stand in his way as he was tearing through them like they were paper. There was murder in his eyes and he wrapped his chains around Yujito, transformed state. The Raikage watched as he yanked it as she smashed hard into the ground, disrupting her Biju ball. He heard her scream at dark chakra tentacles struck her form. A monstrous killing intent spread across the battlefield as the enraged Raikage roared. His heavily muscular body bathed in lightning. As Naruto was shocked at the man's speed, and he just stopped Yujito. So for a second there he was completely defenseless. The Raikage thrust his hand to tear right through Naruto's chest, but that hand was stopped by another hand. The Raikage was staring at similar blue eyes. As the Raikage watched, the yellow flash, he said, a bone-crushing punch connected right into Raikage's jaw that sent him sailing away as Kushina landed. As he then heard a revelation from the couple, "You will not kill our son." Surprised, the Raikage stared at the three of them. Looking closely, he found those words to be rather truthful. He inherited Kushina Uzumaki fiery red hair and temper. But that face, he had his father's face. Even the way the boy fight, it resembled his parents. Those powerful chains of his mother, and that brilliant mind and speed of his father. He was their son. As the Raikage looked to see his men were being dropped like flies, they were the one that were being overwhelmed now by the Akatsuki and by the samurai forces. Yujito was trapped and she was badly injured in the boy's chains. And now the yellow flash and Kushina Uzumaki had arrived. He could fight them all. He could even kill these three. But he would not survive the enraged forces who would butcher him along with his man. The outcome was certain in his mind. Gritting his teeth, he furiously stared at the people who had messed with his plans. "Well played, Konoha. Well played," he said. Minato narrowed his eyes. He was thinking that this was Konoha's fault, given that two of the most powerful ninjas of Konoha stood in front of him, and the Raikage assumed that those samurais was from the Fire Daimyo's court. "Be ready for war," he said. He glanced over towards Yujito as he saw her on the ground, Kisame standing right over her. Kisame pulled his blade and placed it towards Yujito's head as he was openly asking for the Raikage to make a move. As Hidan stood beside him as well and raised his sight. And finally, Naruto walked forward as he stood beside his comrades ready to fight. As Minato and Kushina took positions around him as well, they completely surrounded him. The last of the Kumo ninjas near the Raikage fell as paper shuriken teared through their throats. "Get away, right?" But she couldn't get to finish her sentence as Daibatsu crushed the throat of the Kumo girl. As him, Yaiko, and Nagato surrounded the Raikage as well. Up in the sky, Kiyotsuki stood ready with his bow. "Surrender or don't," Naruto said. "We don't care." Across the battlefield, the Kumo shinobis were dropping. As Naruto looked into the man's eyes and knew what choice he would made. "Run away, Raikage. Soon enough I will bring fire and blood to your nation. You will regret that, Uzumaki Naruto." In a bright lightning flash, he vanished out of sight. Naruto glanced across the battlefield to see the fighting dying down. With the rest of the Kumo forces, victory was his. As the moment he turned around, Nagato encased the boy in a bone-crushing hug. As Akaino leaped off her vulture and crashed into the two of them, they had their home back with tears streaming out of her eyes. The three of them held each other. For once, there was tears in all three of them eyes at once. They remember everything when they ran away from their village. The months of hardships and suffering they had to survive in the harsh world. They remember when Konoha forces butchered their kin and many hostages. Yet, they didn't falter. Family, duty, and honor. No words were said, yet their feelings were in their eyes. As Nagato and Naruto kissed Akaino on her cheek, making her blush red. As all of them started to laugh. As Minato and Kushina watched. As they were watching their son laughing as well. As he held probably his best friends in his arms, tears of joy coming from his eyes. All their life, only thing they remember was the cry of their small infant as he was taken away from them. But now, he was laughing. Kushina wanted to move forward and hold her son in her arms. She wanted to kiss him. She wanted to grip him tight and hug him forever. But Minato held onto her shoulder. Not now. But patience, Kushina, he said. A few hours later, chaos, fear, anger, hatred, mistrust, defeat, surrender. Naruto and a few dozen other people were standing in a room as the others were arguing like mad dogs. Accusations were flying left and right, many people on the verge of exchanging blows. In front of his eyes were the last few elders of the Uzumaki clan. They looked abused with bruises across their bodies. Their once brave eyes now full of fear and cowardice. And these Uzumakis were right now shouting at Minato and Kushina for Konoha failing to support them in their darkest hour. They were angry, staring at these samurais, thinking that they were just another group, trying to control them. They were even throwing insults at the Akatsuki forces that were protecting Uzu. As Hanzo and Mifune standing in the corner of the room just watching, as Naruto felt the arm gripped his hand. It was Konan. "What should I do?" he said. She gave him a push. "I am just a bastard, Konan," he said. He was not one to voice his own opinions. "Not to me," she whispered. She had seen the looks the people gave him when they started to free the Uzumaki prisoners. People had flopped straight over to Nagato and Akino and embraced them, even going down on their knees to thank those two. Yet, only thing Naruto got was small nods of thanks. But, looking into her eyes, he stepped forward. "Enough," he said. All of them quickly shut their mouth. An old woman, her hair was turning grey, stared at the boy in disapproval. "We are grateful that you did your duty, Naruto, but you know you have no right to adjust the elders. Bina." But before she could say anything else, other murmurs went out. "Where were you, bastard, when our village was being destroyed? You were Katsuya-sama, trusted ninja, yet you ran away and left your people. Well, what can we expect from a bastard?" Hearing that made Kisame grip his blade, but Naruto raised his hand and stopped him. He watched as it was the elders who was leading this fashion against his leader. There were several Uzumakis who wanted to protest the younger ones, but they were fearful against the elders. What shocked Kisame the most is the way Naruto accepted this in the silent matter, like he had went through it his entire life. He could see Kushina trembling. If not for Minato holding her back, there would be another massacre. But then, Nagato and Akino stepped forward, and in an instant, those two elders that were cursed at Naruto, their heads started to roll on the ground. As the rest of the elders were slaughtered by the Domino Squad, even Konan as she stepped forward. As Naruto watched in shock, "Konan," he said, "show too much kindness, and these people won't fear you. They don't fear you. They don't follow you," she said. He looked to see that his friends were willing to fight for him, to kill for him, to die for him, to slaughter anyone that showed him injustice. To think Nagato and Akino even killed their own people for his sake. He looked at the rest of his clan. Most of them were young and terrified, especially after witnessing their elders being killed right in front of their eyes. "Be the Uzumaki that you're supposed to be," said Konan, as he gave her a faint nod. "Kumo will come for us," said Toka, Uzumaki, one of the younger heirs of the noble Uzumaki houses. "You cannot expect us to trust Konoha or these Akatsukis or these samurais. Not after everything that has happened to our people," said Arya Uzumaki, another noble. "Yes, they could just be another invader," shouted another voice. "We fought for Naruto Uzumaki, and we are not any invaders," said Hanzo, making many of the men flinch. As they heard a thud of a cane hitting the ground. As Naruto was surprised to see Hinata Uzumaki stepping out of the crowd. She was the eldest member of their clan, still alive, and a widow of the second Uzukage. She slowly came forward as she rested a hand on Naruto's cheek, as she touched Akino and Nagato as well. "You came back for us," she said, as a small tear slipped from her eye, as she stared at Naruto with care in her eyes. She always treated him like a true Uzumaki and not a bastard. "Katsuru, the third is dead, child," she said. Despite knowing this, hearing it was a different thing as Naruto closed his eyes painfully. "Hinata-sama, we must flee before Kumo, Kiri, or the stone come back and finish us," Toka Uzumaki said. The war is not over. The enemy will not rest until the last of us fall. She was further disappointed when she saw the look of fear, cowardness, and terror in her people's eyes. They had lost all their pride, their confidence, and their faith in themselves. How are we supposed to fight back when we don't even have a leader to guide us? Said Lady Tuka tearfully. There is one, said Nagato, as people start to whisper and murmur. As he turned towards Naruto, Naruto Uzumaki fought for our clan. He protected our children. He got them safely to the Hidden Rain. He saved my life, Akino's, countless times. He faced armies, Kages, even a Jinchuriki for us. And he emerged victorious. There is no one greater than him, said Nagato. But Nagato had his sword placed on the middle-aged man's throat before he could even voice that insult. I don't care if he's a bastard. His Uzumaki blood is the same one that runs through our veins. Ghost let out a mighty growl right beside Naruto to make Nagato's words even more threatening and dangerous. He speak the truth, everyone. I advise you all to surrender because I didn't want to see any more Uzumaki die in vain. But I was wrong, said Hinata. She pointed at Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki avenged massacre. Peace. The white wolf, she said. The fort. As she then bowed down to him, making her eyes went wide. Bestow upon him a title that only 3 Uzumakis have ever held before. As positive whispers and nods went through the crowd, a lady took a look at him before unleashing her sword. Our people have not treated you kindly, and for that I truly apologize, she said. My house wished to correct itself and pledge to you, Lord Fort. As she then bowed down to him as well. Lord Arima, who had the most Uzumakis alive in his house, stepped forward as well. I did not fight by your side in the battle to repay and regain our home, and I will regret it. I knelt when I should have fought for our home, and for that I am truly sorry, he said. We will make them all pay, Lord Arima Naruto said, making the man smile. We will get our revenge, brothers. My house pledged to fight again for our clan, and to follow and fight for the fort. Naruto Uzumaki. Shocked gasp went off as he unleashed his blade and pointed at Naruto. Lord Fort, he said. All of his friends then raised their swords as they yelled, Lord Fort, making the rest of the Uzumakis go off in cheers. Lord Fort, they cheered him on. Meanwhile, Kushina and Minato watched. He surpassed me, said Minato, with a proud smile on his face. I never thought that we would see him again. Much more to see him become the youngest Kage in history. Even Hirzun was 2 years older than him when he became Hokage, said Kushina. The both of them turned as they saw a girl walking into them with silver hair. It was the one that was hugging Naruto earlier. She had so much hatred in her eyes for them. So, the both of you are his bloody parents, she said, making Kushina's eyes narrow. Who are you, Kushina asked. Someone who has been by your son's side more than either of you, said Akino. Akino smiled as the both of them flinched by her words. She didn't even understand why Naruto was making them stay in Uzu. When she asked him about it, he told her that he will handle it. Knowing him and his big heart, she feared that these 2 cowards would take advantage of their son. Knowing that he was now the Uzukage, she might not agree with Naruto's grand plan of changing the entire world, but she did agree with him on something. She wanted Konoha to burn as well. Uzu and Konoha had shared ties of blood, and Konoha betrayed them in the worst manner. She could never forget those ambushes they butchered her people when she and the rest of the Uzumaki children were taken and stuffed into tubes for experiment. If Naruto didn't save them, Konoha had betrayed their own, just like these 2 people standing right in front of her. To betray one's family was the worst crime any Uzumaki can do. She was disgusted as they looked at Naruto with pride. She didn't like that at all. What the hell did they even know about him? Did they know about the years where he suffered as bastard? The subtle ways where he was discriminated everywhere he went. The weary looks he received for him being a bastard with dark powers. Despite it all, though, he had more honor and a bigger heart than either of them. He was born a bastard, but he has lived his life like any true Uzumaki. She was not going to allow these two to ruin him once again. "You're not welcome here," she said. "The sooner you two go away, the better it will be for him," Akino said. Kushina had enough, as she was ready to say something back. "That's enough, Akino," before she could say anything, as Nagato walked forward. Akino didn't know why, but ever since they returned to Uzu, she has sensed a rising coldness in their friend. Out of the three of them, Nagato was the most kind-hearted, but after witnessing what Kumo had done to their home, something had died in him. He looked at Minato. "Town Square," now he said. When they arrived, Kushina was shocked, as dozens of Kinkaku forces, Jonin's commander, were all hung to their death, their eyes cut out of their socket, their nose punctured with rods, and the Uzumaki symbol carved in blood on their head. She looked at her clan members to see they weren't even disgusted or appalled. They wanted this. They wanted the Kumo ninjas to suffer after what they did. Yes, she knew they had to pay with their life, but not like this. What terrified Kushina was the blank stares of the young Uzumakis as they looked at all the dead. In their eyes, she could see that all innocents were lost. They have went through so much. These were no longer children, but killing machine who wanted blood. At the center of the stage was a young woman who was crying. As Kushina noticed, she identified her as Yujito. She was the Jinjuki of the two tails. She did not seem much injured, bruised, but unharmed. Yet, the reason for her crying was much worse. She was bound in sealing chains, preventing her from moving, as a similar blonde woman was just a distance away from her. On closer looking, Minato noticed the facial features and figure that it was Yujito's younger sibling, and her throat had been slit open. The crowd then started to part away as they saw the fourth Uzukage walking with the Uzu sword in his hand. One of the noble lords, Arima, stepped forward. "My lord, you need not sully your hands with someone like her," said Arima. Kushina saw Naruto look at all the execution, as a look of disappointment was in his eyes. "Who execute them in such a manner?" he asked in a cold tone. "I did, my lord." As they saw, Konan, Nagato, and Akino were shocked. It was a young boy, maybe 2 years younger than Naruto. "So did I," said another young girl. "Me too. They deserve it." Naruto watched dozens of his clan children claim to be the one behind this execution. Behind these children, he could sense the support of the rest of the clan. They were all in it together. And he didn't want that for them. Things like that was left to him. "You dishonor our name, everyone," he said. "These ninjas should have been executed for their crime, but not in this fashion." Rage came across dozens of their faces. They murder and rape the girls. They butchered our people. They enslaved us. He allowed them all to vent their anger and quietly listened to it for several minutes. He kept his feelings in check. He could not disrespect this title. He could not allow them to go on this way. So he said those three golden words: family, duty, and honor. Many of them lowered their heads, hearing the motto of their clan. Hanzo smiled. The boy was doing the right thing. Whether he believed it or not was a different matter. It was good that he get the rest of the clan on track. Instead, they become bloodthirsty savages, searching for blood like madmen. In wars like before and ones to come, we will be forced to do and witness horrible things. But Kotsuro-sama said that dead should always be respected no matter who they are. These ninja were our enemies, but now they're not. Let them rest and allow your pain to heal. We will make all of them pay for their mistakes. But you people must not become the monster yourself. A war will happen. All of them that attack us, all of them will pay. But when all of that is over, I want you all to promise me something. Hundreds of eyes lost their anger and listened to him as he smiled. seeing that his clan was still alive and strong in these people. Swear it on your children and on your grandchildren's lives that you also strive to build a better world, not just for this clan, but for the world. I dream of a world where the Uzumakis are respected and not feared. The crowd roared with promises and oaths, smiles replacing that haunted look, and hope instead of fear. As Minato saw, there was no more desire for violence in their eyes. In the battlefield there was, but now, he was just calm. He simply wanted justice, nothing more. And it made him wonder what could he offer his son to make peace with Konoha. As Naruto stepped forward, he looked at Yujito with the blade in his hand. A few words were said between the two of them. It was barely above a whisper. Before slash, as her head was cut clean off. He then turned to his people. Kumo shinobis must be buried in the mountain, he said. He then turned towards Minato and Kushina. War was coming. He had to get this over with. As he walked off, with the two of them following behind him, Minato shivered a bit as he had handed his coat to Kushina, as it was rather cold. Winter is coming, said Naruto. As soon as he said those words, the red blur shot past Minato and grabbed him in a tight hug. As Minato just stood there and watched, waiting to see what his son's reaction would be. But guys, will be ending this episode right here. If you want the next part of this, or know what to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn the bell notifications they posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in social media platform. But I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace.